Karen with the Ruggers Edge. I'm really excited to bring you another installment of our Ruggers Edge TV, where we bring together some awesome folks that are in our rugby community, hopefully for some education and just some, ways for you all to learn a little bit more. Today, I feel so silly saying my guests, but really our friends that are joining us, awesome people in the rugby community. I've got Troy and Sarah Hall here. So Troy Hall is a former U.S. Eagle. He's also a coach. He's going to be a new head coach at Clemson University. And then he's also a wellness consultant. And his wife, Dr. Sarah Hall, she is a physical therapist, nutritionist, and also wellness consultant. And together they form Hall Consultants. A few months ago, we had them feature a little bit of an article in one of the newsletters about what they do and a little bit more about, just some awesome tips and tricks for, student athletes. So yeah, I'm going to let them kind of take it away. This is really more their, their video today. I'm really here just to learn and listen as well. So Troy and Sarah, take it away. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, about the company, and maybe some things that we can kind of talk about for the high school students that are out there that are watching this.
Awesome, Kara. I appreciate you having us on. This is we're sitting on our back porch. Our kids are inside, just chilling out at the moment. But it's nice to be able to make and connect with you, and let people know a little bit more about ourselves and what we do, and in some ways how we kind of founded our company, because a lot of the experiences that we've faced and been through have actually is the reason why we've developed Hall Consultants, and it's been quite the ride so far, that's for sure. But just a little bit of background on me. So I'm originally from New Zealand. I met Sarah overseas in Australia. That's what brought me to the States. We spent 6 years in New York, where I played for New York Athletic Club, Old Blue, White Plains. So I had a few clubs I played for there. Really good time in our life too, to be honest. It was a lot of good rugby. I was lucky enough to get selected to the US team, both 7s and 15s. And then, fast forward a few years, we ended up in the Pacific Northwest, out in Oregon, where Sarah's originally from. So we spent 5 years out there, and I got heavily involved in the youth and high school game out there with Rugby Oregon and with Jen Heinrich, which I'm sure many of the people listening here know her. Now we're in South Carolina, so we've sort of seen different parts of the States, and since retiring from the game, it's been nice moving into the coaching world. I was involved with Oregon State for 3 years, and then now an exciting move we've got in a couple of months going to Clemson. So there's a lot of it's been a journey, but it's been we've taken a lot of those learnings that I experienced as a player and that I've seen as a and sort of turn that into a company where we can offer a pretty cool service out there for rugby players at kind of all levels. So I'll pass the baton on to Sarah here so she can tell a little bit more about herself. But
So Troy, we met in Australia, but before that, I was born in Oregon, then I lived in Norway for a few years, and then I grew up in New York. So I was doing some studying abroad in Australia, and that's how we met. And then I came back to New York, of course, and did my physical therapy schooling there, and helped rehab this guy many a time from all his rugby injuries. And so for me, like, I've always had rugby in my life since knowing Troy, so it's been a while now. And being a physical therapist, and being married to this rugby guy, it kind of just naturally came together for us to form our company. And then I had a passion for nutrition as well, because treating people what could I eat? What supplements could I take? And I'm like, I gotta look into this more. I know a little bit, but I wanted to take it further. So nutrition was my second passion, combining that with physical therapy and just overall your well-being, trying to heal better, trying to help people perform better. And so it kind of just naturally again went with what Troy did as a player, and then us kind of coming together hey, we could help rugby players. We both love rugby. We both love working with rugby players. So let's bring this together. So our company kind of encompasses everything to do with wellness, your how your mindset is, your physical body, what you're doing, how you're training, how you're recovering after training. And then of course, like what you're putting into your body, how are you fueling your body? How are you helping it recover after training? So all those things kind of go together and you can't escape them. So that's why we love talking about all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's great. I think sometimes, especially when I first meet with families, it's always kind of like, okay, like, you know, what more can my kid do? Like, they need to run more, they need to lift more. It's like one piece of the puzzle without kind of thinking about all the others, or even the kids that already maybe are on that high performance track or whatever. There are still other pieces. I had someone mention the other day, they're like, we're kind of joking, but they're like, you know, what's the one piece that high performance athletes, you know, could all take advantage of right now that they're not doing? And it was like sleep. That was like
Yeah,
one
simple.
thing that like most students in a normal year, like they wouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, so that might kind of lead us into, I mean, I don't know if you have suggestions or just things you would love for students to think about. It could either be like, you know, when things are normal, these are some things that would be that you kind of came across, you know, in your work, or even like right now, you know, when things are still kind of closed, kind of opening up. I know USA Rugby just put out their return to play guidelines, so it's going to vary between different states. Yeah, I mean, what are some things you think you could, you know, you'd want, you know, folks out there to know?
I think, and this is something that we think about often as well. So it's, you know, we obviously, when we work with clients, we teach and we help and work with people that way, but it's also stuff that we focus on as well. And it's, I think at the moment, I think a big thing, like with a lot of unknowns right now, there's a couple of ways we go about it. Is it's kind of like preparing for a match week. So if you've got a game, let's say next Saturday, let's say it's Wednesday today, you've got a game, let's say 10 days from now. The way I sort of approach that is I figure out what boxes I need to tick along the way. So if I've got to tick, it doesn't have to be a lot of boxes, but it's just going about your days where, like, what 2 or 3 things do I need to tick today to be able to get me an opportunity to perform and when it's time to come to get on the field and play. So I always look at it this way. So if I look at 10 days from now, I've got a game, saying 10 days, but I'll pull it back and I'll jot down what do I need to do. Like it could be how many training sessions do I need to get at? Do I need to do any extra sessions? You know, how many, like what sort of meals am I planning? What sort of meals am I fueling myself with? Like how do I get clarity going into that game? So it's jotting down and working backwards from I can play. It's like, what do we need to think about from that point back to this point today? Like, what do I need to tick? What do I need to make time for? Because I'm a big believer in, I think if you've got this time now, I think if things are normal, you may not have time to do all the things you need to do right now. So I think it's such a great time to make time on those things that you may not have had time to do, like focusing on mental skills or goal setting or food or just something that's going to help you, you know, down the road for sure.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna add to that, like he's saying, like, okay, most of the time during the week, like if you're in high school, you're rushing around, you're just eating whatever you can or, you know, whatever's available to you. But now is like a perfect time to really like learn more about food and like how to even prepare some foods for yourself, kind of pay attention to like what your parents are doing, like what they're making, you know what I mean? And just learn, like focus a little more on that and take like one little to be like everything about nutrition, because you're not going to learn all that, you know, right now. Even be like, okay, if I'm going to do some training, like if I'm going to work out like 3 times this week, or, you know, what can I do for nutrition to help myself? Do I need to like bump up my carbs? Do I need to bump up protein? And you may not have like super specific goals with that yet, but just becoming aware of what you're eating is like a really big step in furthering your own like personal education on that, on nutrition, and just becoming aware of like am I eating vegetables? Am I eating protein? You know, what am I eating, and what are some ways I could improve that? You know what I mean? Looking at your own personal goals. And it's awareness. It all comes back to awareness. And even like from a mindset standpoint, like just being aware of how you're feeling when you're going into training, how are you feeling when you're coming out of training, and like, are you setting goals for yourself? Like this would be a perfect time for someone to set a goal, and just picking, again, like one topic, whether it is a training goal, whether it's a nutrition goal or anything, just trying to focus on one thing that you wouldn't have done normally if you didn't have the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, so you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but like, so let's say you're in front of a client. I mean, most clients that you're working with, are these like common issues, like goal setting, with, you know, the nutrition piece, or those kind of the big ones you would say that when we're talking about like adolescents, like those students, like that's what they struggle with, or that would be really, if they would work on that, that would make a big difference on the field?
Yeah, for sure. And that's like one of the, like with almost every single client we work with, it's like always something about nutrition. Like, you know, what are there supplements I could take? And we're not huge like supplement pushers, but sometimes you need to have extra if you're just not getting enough of something in your diet. So they'll ask a lot of questions about that. They'll have like, you know, some people have whatever weight goals they have, or they just want to be like, I want to eat better. It's always some type of nutrition goal, and always some type of nutrition question. And again, like the first thing we teach them is just like being aware of what they're eating. So we'll have them do like a food journal, like a 3-day food journal. So that'll make them pay attention to it. And then from there, we'll come in, we can be like, okay, well, what do you want out of this? You know what I mean? Like, what is it you want to focus on? What's your goal? So then it goes back to that goal setting, and we'll help them work on creating those goals, those SMART goals.
And I think it's having confidence in your prep as well.
Yeah.
And having clarity around sort of, and taking ownership of it. Because a lot of the trends that we do see they're very, it's almost every person we meet has a similar kind of challenge that they're working through. It could be a confidence challenge. It could be, you know, it could be, like I say, an energy, you know, it could be something to do with food. That way they maybe they're lethargic, or they're maybe just not seeing or getting that outside perspective. And it's something that I know, you know, the clients that we work with appreciate, is having that outside. Because I'm a coach, and I love to ask questions about certain things, and so does Sarah. So I think it's the trends are there for sure. It's really, at the end of the day, a good preparation is a good performance, but it's going to give you the best chance to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of something we talk about. If you get the prep right, at least now you can go into the game with, you know, you've prepared yourself to the best you can. And of course, there's different levels of motivation with people, and you know, some of them just want to go and play and have fun, which is fine. But there's others who have aspirations to play, you know, college rugby or a high level of rugby, and they're the ones we kind of, that's the focus point, is finding the ones that are motivated and that are willing and ready to get after it. You know, because not everyone is, but it's an awesome experience for both of us when you do work with players that are just they're like a sponge, you know, who just want to get after it and really do what they can.
So for those students that are aiming for the number one, they're like, I definitely want to, you know, fell in love with this game. I want to keep playing in college, and maybe one day, you know, represent the U.S. or, you know, beyond or whatever. You mentioned a little bit earlier about like, this is a great time to start practicing maybe the mental skill aspect, because if we're not able to get on the field and do anything like that, are there some things that students could start doing like on their own right now when as it relates to mental skills, and kind of building that up, so when they're able to get on the field, they've had some time to kind of build that up? Because I would reckon that most students don't really think about the mental game like at all. I mean, other than, you know, maybe understanding like, okay, tactically this is how we'd attack or defense, but the other stuff, you know, how do you manage yourself and pressure and things like that? So, you know, how would you speak to those students that maybe do want to work on that?
Without like throwing too much at you here, it's you know, a lot of the mental stuff that we do is
like what's an easy exercise or something, like starting off, like someone who's never even thought
Yep.
about it, because I know we could probably spend like hours on it.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%.
Don't go too
Yeah,
deep.
a lot of this, you know, a lot of the reason we're so passionate about mindset is because a lot of things that we talk about and help with players now is that stuff that I didn't do. And since retiring, I've kind of got this whole new outlook on, well, my preparation maybe wasn't where, and it comes back to that awareness piece. And I think a good place to start is just building confidence through like focusing on your wins. I think a lot of the times we can get caught up in, and I was another example of this is you have a goal, right, and you're working towards it. And let's say you have to adapt or adjust along the way. I think a lot of times what we can do is we let all those little mini wins just go by without actually going like, that was a good day, or I did 3 or 4 things that really went well today. And this is something that we do, you know, daily or every couple of days. We'll jot down, you know, it could be any number. It could be a number between 3 and 10 of what went well today. And instead of focusing on the, oh, I didn't do that, or this didn't work out so well. I think everything's about confidence with, you know, I was a confidence player. I think every player wants to have clarity and confidence. I think it's a good habit to get into that I always recommend is jotting down 2 or 3 wins that you get every day. Because there's always something that goes well. Even just waking up and having a good breakfast, or feeling good during a workout, or reconnecting with friends, or whatever it may be. I think it's just a good mindset to go into a day. Just, okay, or at the end of the day, looking back and thinking, you know, there's 4 or 5 things that went really well today. I'm going to focus on that. When I go to bed tonight, you know, I can think about that instead of the opposite.
And there's something to be said about like writing it down too, instead of just like thinking in your head. So if you like write it down on paper, then you can go back and you can look at it. Like if you start a journal or something, and you can see like how it progresses over time, and you'll notice like in the beginning it might be hard to think of those wins, especially if you think you're having a bad day. And like during times like this when things seem a lot harder, you'll be like, oh, I can't, what even went well today? But then all of a sudden you'll think of something, you'll be like, okay, I guess I'll write that down. And then as the days go on, you'll be like, oh, okay, well this happened and this happened. And then you'll see that your list just like naturally grows. And that, like I say, there's something about actually writing it down and like getting it out of your head onto paper, and then having it there and just being like, cool, train your mind to begin like thinking in a new way, and just start to like change your perspective a little bit. You'll change your perspective again. You'll become more aware of even what you're thinking and like how you're thinking about things. You're not just like, oh, today was a terrible day. It's like, no, actually, there are all these awesome things that happen. So I think that is some suggestion. I mean, it's simple. Write down like 2 to 3 wins of the day and see how it grows.
So just because I'm curious, you mentioned that there is some stuff that you didn't do so well. Like, what are some things, if you could go back in time and tell young Troy not to do? Are there a couple of things like with your preparation that you're like, that probably wasn't great, or I could have, you know, done better?
Yeah, I think, a couple of things stand out. And I mean, the awareness piece, right? The nutrition side of things. I was playing most of my high level rugby when I was in New York. So exposed to a lot of good food in New York. But I didn't have that. I didn't really have an interest in it. I mean, I was just eating for eating. I didn't really think about it too much.
Lots of pizza.
Yeah, not a very well balanced diet. But I think that's one piece. So, you know, thinking back, it's like, okay, I should have been more interested in that, or I just wasn't really aware of it as much. So that's one piece. But then probably the more important piece was the mental side of the game. So, like, what could I, you know, again, going back to like my day by day prep, like what could I do to get clarity that day, or you know, building my own confidence within it, and not focusing so much on the game itself. You know, or for example, there was, you know, Rugby World Cup selections. I was always involved with the Eagles throughout the cycle. I get to World Cup time, and my only focus was on like making that 30-man roster, and that's all I was focusing on. And I didn't think back and be like, okay, what are these little steps I need to take to make sure that's going to give me the best chance? Because that was that was really out of my control, the selections and how the coaches are going to pick the teams. And I think looking back is focusing on that mental side of the game and focusing on the day-to-day piece. The prep around leading into a game, leading into a tour or to a season. It's just that being present around it and enjoying the moment a lot more, instead of being like, okay, how do I do today? Is that going to give me a better shot at getting selected? Which is natural because I was never to the World Cup. But it's that awareness piece and just thinking back, like wishing I'd got more interested in it back then. Because I think I know it would have helped me as a player feel better. Even if not selected, I know I would have done everything I could to get selected.
I love that. Like, I think more and more professionals and coaches are really starting to recognize the importance. I mean, it's not just like the physical. Like, I mean, when I played in college, it was really very much like you think about it when you're at practice, and then you think about it at the game, and that's kind of it. There's nothing in between.
Yeah.
And I had a really bad habit. I think one of the reasons I really, when I started getting up into the higher levels, like I really had a hard time in the game, if I made a mistake, being able to let that go.
Yeah.
It was really hard, but at the same time, like, no one ever discussed that piece, right? The mental part of being able to, like, there are those other players, I'm like, how do they do that? They can just kind of make mistakes and move on, where I'm like, oh my God, that was terrible. Like, I missed that tackle and that was my fault. Like, I lost the game for everyone. And I was one of those types of players. And I often see players who have the physical ability, but really, like, a lot of it, if they're like right under the cusp, it's actually those mental pieces, right? Like, and you'll hear coaches like, oh yeah, he's just if he's having a good day, he's great. But if he's having a bad day, like, there's nothing you can do, and I think those are the players. It's interesting if we could focus and have them understand and be aware, right? Like, now, like, if I'm too old to play now. I tried once and I was like, this is a hard game. Like, how did I do this?
Yeah.
Like, I can let go of that stuff now. You know that, like, it doesn't matter. But yeah.
And I think it's being a coach now on the other side of the game now. And it's like it'd be countless times when a coach would say so I've been a part of a team and the coach would come and be like, you got to eat right. It's about the game's about the top 6 inches. All those common kind of sayings you do here. And it's part of what spurred us on is okay, a lot of players, where do I start? Like, where do I start and learn how to eat right? I know you can go on.
What's eating right?
Yeah. I know you can YouTube and look up stuff, but it's also, that can get overwhelming really quickly. And like, where do I start when it comes to, like, how do I become more resilient, or how do I let go of a mistake, or start to work on that piece? It's not just going to happen. It's something you need to actually have an intention. I need to get better at this. I need to let it go, right? And that's part of the reason why that's why we created what we've done, is to be able to also to give coaches a tool to be able to use for their players, to be able to, like, instead of just saying, you got to eat right, you got to do this, this, and this. It's like, okay, well, how and what's the plan, and how can we make this, how can we give them a chance to do it, and learn about it.
So I'm kind of coming up at the end of our time here, but, like, so if you work with coaches and players, you only work with, like, who would they reach out to you directly and say, hey, look, like, we've got this time and we'd like to kind of start working on things? Like, what is the best way to move forward with you?
So we work with players directly. So we work in a one-on-one setting with players. They go through kind of a bit of an intake process with us to make sure we're a good fit, we can help, and that they're ready as well. That's really that's the best way to go move forward. Is and email us directly.
Yes, on the website.
On our website.
Falconconsultants.com.
Yep, send us a message and we can, because we offer a free consultation to jump on that, where we do talk about some goals and what they want to get out of it. But we've also got, and when you brought up coaches, we also have, like, we've created basically a wellness library or a wellness hub.
Yeah.
Where it's got a content with video views and articles and worksheets and all sorts of stuff that they can jump on And we've got teams that are using it now. Where coaches just going to send it out to their team. They've kind of identified like we need to work on this, and it's a great place to start with it being in the one place, with it being rugby specific, and you know we see some good value in that.
If you want to learn, like if you're a high school student and say you want to learn a little more about nutrition, or again nutrition, mindset, and like physical stuff, like how to take care of yourself, the membership that we have it has all like learning modules on that, like Troy was saying, and there are videos on it as well. So that's like a really great place to go if you want to just go and start learning about like the basics of things. And like, because our approach is like very individualized when we're working with someone. We're not like, oh, you have to eat this type of diet for every single person, because we know that not everyone's body is the same. But it gives you like the basics of learning about your body so you can make the best choices for your body, and understanding like what makes up foods that will help to fuel your body, and then again beyond that, like the mindset stuff as well. So yeah, that would be a great tool, an easy tool for someone to use, and it's free. So
Great.
And that's through Hall Consultants
Yeah,
as well. We've got a
everything's on
link
the
for
website.
that.
Yeah, and I'll when I put this up, I'll get really, you know, kind of comfortable using all the like iMovie stuff. I'll put the website hopefully below us or on
Awesome, there we go.
So I'll put it up and in the notes, and people can reach out to you. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to chat with us. Hopefully we'll get to do another one, and we can dive a little bit deeper into all of your life mistakes and what you've learned. Do all that together.
We're an open book, Karen. We're absolutely
And then if you're interested, definitely I'll put all the information up to reach Troy and Dr. Sarah here. And thanks again. You guys stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.